Let's take a look first at dynamic queries. And again, the principle is to visually demonstrate the query components and the results and provide rapid and immediate feedback. For that, I'll take a look at the demo here on this display. Just move over to the side here, and we see on it a map of the Washington, D.C. area with the Potomac here. And this is an improved version of where we were a year ago in terms of dynamic HomeFinder. The scenario I present to you is that we're coming up on the new administration, and you've taken a job with the Clinton administration, and your spouse is going to be working at the University of Maryland. You're looking for a home. So the first thing to do is to mark where you want to work here at the University of Maryland, right about, let's say, there, the A marker. And then your spouse is going to work downtown in the executive office building right about over there as the B marker. Okay? And now each of these points of light on the display represent a home for sale. And if I move to the right, I can control this display by choosing the distance that I want to be from point A. And now it's set at 30 miles, and I'm going to bring it down. And you can control rapidly, incrementally, and reversibly the distance that you wish to be from point A. So let's say you decide, you see there's plenty of them, so you say you want to be, let's say, 5 miles from work so that you could, let's say, bike to work. And now you want to be somewhere inside that range from B, so you slide down, and we now can see the set. And this is, looks like we've got 40 or 50 homes over there. If I now choose about the number of bedrooms, I really want 3 or 4 bedrooms, so I move this double box slider to be 3 or 4. I've still got about 30 houses on the display, so why don't we look at the price now, and we want to keep the price down, let's say about 170,000, between 140 and 170,000. And that's given us a set of about a dozen here. We could trim a little further by choosing, we can choose from houses, townhouses, or condominiums. Let's eliminate the townhouses and condominiums, so we're selecting only houses. Yellow indicates selected fields, and I can see now I've got about 10 of them. If I click on any one of those points, if I just click here, then the bottom of the display gives me a description of that house. In Tacoma Park, a newer middle-class neighborhood, colonial brick, and fireplace, garage, etc. This gives you a way of posing a very specific query, seeing the feedback immediately, and getting an answer to your question, plus reformulating your goals as you see the results of this query. Now, another way to use this display is to explore. And here, if you see the whole area of Washington and you want to see different neighborhoods, and let's look for high-priced neighborhoods. I can see them dropping out here, or I can see them if I move here and just leave the high-priced ones, Potomac, Silver Spring, Fairfax, Virginia. So you might ask yourself a question, is there a correlation with bedroom size, with house size, the number of bedrooms? Do you expect to have large houses only in some neighborhoods? Well, let's find out. And the answer is no. They're distributed quite uniformly. What about small houses? Well, you can see there are no small houses in the northwest section where the more expensive houses exist, and we don't see the preponderance of those large houses. So this enables you to generate queries in a way that I think no keyboard-oriented query language with textual output could possibly do for you. So this dynamic query was a provocative demonstration in our labs, and it led to many people coming and saying, gee, I want to use that tool. And of course, it is just a prototype, and we'd love to see a real estate firm pick it up and make it happen here. But we did find people made some found that there were some impediments. They said, oh, yeah, very nice. You've got a map of Washington. That's good. But I may not always have maps as a domain to display the results. Well, we responded to that with this design. And let's come back to the demonstration here, where I have the same data, but now the output, instead of a map, I've replaced with simply textual output. I preserve the directness of manipulation on the query. So now if I manipulate the cost, and I hope you can see this result bar on the bottom, as I drag the double box slider, you can see that it tells me how many of the 911 homes in this subset will satisfy the query. So if I go back to the same query of 170,000 down to 140,000, you can see there are 150 of the 911 houses that satisfy. If I go back to my query of between 3 and 4 bedrooms, I'm down to 89. Let's just choose eliminate condominiums and apartments, just look at houses. We have 65 here in the whole area. And I might say I'll insist on a fireplace by deselecting the no component. So I say yes, fireplace. I have only 14 left. I can scroll this horizontally. I look at the prices, or if I wish, I could select to sort by prices, and I now have an ascending order list from 140,950 to 168,950 among these 14 homes, and I could print them or continue to search in other ways. So my point is that this kind of tool, which gives you 100 queries per second, every time you adjust the slider box, you're issuing a new query, produces such a flow of animated information that it helps you organize your thinking and reformulate the goals that you have in doing the queries. So we've looked at points as output, we've looked as text as output, but we've found other ways to make these dynamic queries effective. And the example I want to show you was one we built for the National Center for Health Statistics during the past summer, which shows us a map of the United States and cancer rates. Red indicates high cancer rate. This is cervical cancer data. And if I click on any state, well, let's click on Maryland over here, we'll see on the lower left a box which tells us the statistics that we've got here about the state of Maryland and the demographics related to cancer rates. So we might explore just by clicking, but we can also explore by moving the sliders to discover patterns of cancer in the population. So for example, I see 1950, I could move 1955, 60, 65, and 70, and you can see by the screen changing to blue that cervical cancer rates have gone down dramatically in that period because of the emergence of the Pap smear as a widely used test to detect cancer early and thereby provide treatment. So that's one pattern we could discover. And now the other kind of pattern would be here we're looking at this control widget about the percent of college educated. And if I slide them down as states begin to drop out, you can see that the states with low college educated populations have high cancer rates. And in fact, it is the knowledge of availability of testing that leads to lower cancer rates. And so we see the unfortunate effect that those with poor education are less likely to seek treatment. Similarly, if we look at income, we find a similar pattern about income, that the high income states are low cancer states because they have also sought treatment. On the other hand, smoking, which you often think is related to cancer, does not have a direct causal linkage with cervical cancer, and so we don't see the same pattern. We see some of those red states dropping out because this does not correlate as strongly with cancer. And so that was a remarkable discovery, and the statisticians were very pleased to see this, be able to confirm their hypotheses, and our efforts now are moving towards making 900 regions for a finer understanding, and also going to 20 different statistical values that we should be able to present in this kind of an environment.